Okay, so for all our faults, our Western liberal democracy, pretty darn good. It's easy to forget how good we have it. What's more, we're extremely fortunate to be living in a place called Canada, indisputably the best country on earth in which to live. Sure, we've got our challenges, our difficulties, but I wouldn't choose to live anywhere else, would you? So why do some elites seemingly show nothing but disdain for our society? In short, guilt. Yeah, guilt, specifically white liberal guilt. It's time for some Canadian common sense. First, before the trolls race to their little keyboards to denounce me as some sort of bigot, let me explain what I mean by Western civilization. Do I mean that people of European ancestry are somehow ethnically, morally, or intellectually superior? No, of course not. Western civilization represents a set of ideas, values. Take democracy or liberalism. That would be small L liberalism. Liberalism that believes in personal freedom, personal responsibility. These are Western ideas. There's no reason that a Chinese Canadian, Indo-Canadian, Arab Canadian can't be a part of this kind of Western civilization. Quite to the contrary. Indeed, generations have emigrated here and embraced these values. Look, I've got no problem saying that our way of life, our Western values, are superior to other ideological systems. During the Cold War, many foolish liberals tried to draw moral equivalence between the forces of Western democracy and Soviet communism. Now, those of us who escaped from communism, I'd be included in that, would never make that claim and always thought liberals were foolish for doing so. Today, we see this same silly phenomenon at play again. Some examples for you. The federal government recently announced that we're pulling out of Kyoto. Sure, the science behind the treaty might be questionable, and even if you believe in the science, the treaty's environmental impact is negligible since it exempts massive emitters such as China and India. Oh, but we'd, by the way, have to pay countries in the developing world. And yes, the Chrétien government signed the treaty even though they knew they couldn't meet the commitments. No matter, the PR exercise was more important. Look, the Liberals had good reason for not actually doing anything to meet our Kyoto obligations. It would have destroyed our economy. So, smart call, Jean. Given all this, the Harper government did the logical thing and announced that we would not be signing on to a new treaty when Kyoto expires next year. This is, of course, Canada's legal right. There's no obligation to stay in a treaty indefinitely. Our democratically elected government calls the shots, not unelected bureaucrats at the United Nations. But how do the guilt-ridden elites respond? With disgust, of course. Take the Globe and Mail's John Ibbotson, who writes, Canada gave its word to the world. Canada broke its word. The final confession was as shameful as it was inevitable. No one should feel anything other than ashamed. Sorry, John. I don't feel shame. I'm actually proud that my government was prepared to state the obvious, was being honest, was prepared to stand up against the pack mentality. Here's one. Immigration Minister Jason Kenney's decision to ban the wearing of burqas and niqabs at citizenship ceremonies. Now, if you're like me, you welcome this decision. Frankly, I'd like to see more of it. It's ridiculous that people are legally allowed to wear masks when going to vote, and I hope that's next on the Harper government's list. Now, normally I'd say that someone chooses to wear and what they choose to wear, none of my business. But I'm sorry, I've got a hard time accepting that it's actually the woman's choice. How elastic do we want to be with that word choice? I believe it's the father or husband's choice, their decision. To be frank, women don't have rights. They don't have choice under that archaic, puritanical ideology. Regardless, if you want to become a Canadian citizen, you need to show your face. Citizenship is a privilege, not a right. If you want to become a Canadian, you need to play by our rules, period. You think enlightened liberals would actually embrace Kenney's decision. Women's liberation types, feminists should be thrilled. But no, they're not. It really doesn't matter to the elites on the left. To them, we are no better than an ideology that believes in the systemic oppression of women, moral equivalence, accusations of Islamophobia and racism. That's how the left responds. It's more guilt. We'll actually show you some vivid examples a bit later in the show. But here's one more example for now. For the past few weeks, mainstream media has been captivated by the plight of the Aboriginal community at Awapiskat. Look, I don't like that kids are living in cold tents and going hungry. It's awful. It's horrible. It's deplorable. But I'm not willing to accept that just dumping more money into the problem is the solution. Whatever we've been doing, not working. To the guilty white liberal, we're obligated to pay pseudo-reparations for eternity. No strings attached. No matter if dumping billions of dollars actually fuels unaccountability and corruption. No. Any tough love, any blunt talk is immediately denounced as racism. You see, maintaining one's guilt is actually more important than actually making a difference to those kids at Awapiskat. Again and again, the elites talk us down. Look, I'm just tired of being told that I need to feel guilty all the time. You should be too. The elites don't get to tell us what to think and what to feel. No longer. No more. And that's Canadian common sense.